Hi guys! So if you listened to my radio show this week, you heard me talk briefly about a message that I had got from a woman randomly. First was, how amazing I am. And when I responded with a thank you to that, her next message was, not many people in Access like you. Which was like a, what the fuck moment, and longer than a moment. Like it stayed with me for a while. And what I wanted to share with you this week was something that was really different than I would say I've ever had come up before when I was doing kind of my own clearing around something. So the first thing usually when I receive something like that's a judgment or, I guess really a judgment, is the first thing I do is I lower my barriers to receive it. And this time, when I went to that, it was interesting because it was like, I don't even know how to put it into words, but it was like I was forcing myself to receive it, which then was like an abuse. And I know that maybe sounds a bit extreme, but that was the energy that came up. And it was really surprising to me because I do that all the time, right? If something comes, whether it's like, kindness, it's supposed to be kindness, but it's got kind of a funky energy, or it's an out and out, judgment of me or whatever. My first reaction usually is to drop the barriers to receive it. So I was just shocked with the energy of not that I was resisting receiving it, but it was like, it wasn't a kindness to force myself to receive it in that 10 seconds. And that's mind-blowing to me. And so I honored that. I just like, okay, cool. Stop trying to receive it. Stop doing that thing. And again, not meaning to put up barriers and to refuse receiving it, but just don't force that. And then I used the 4 questions from Access. What is this? What can I do with it? Can I change it? If so, how do I change it? And I didn't spend a lot of time staring at it or looking at it. And that's often what I do with stuff is I don't sit down to work on it, so to speak. I've done that with other modalities. And sometimes I'll do that with stuff with Access now, with the tools, of course. But a lot of times I just kind of let it float around. And then it seems like if I'm not staring at it or I'm not trying to figure it out, that I will have more awareness when I have more awareness. So anyway, so I just kind of allowed it to float, and I allowed myself not to force myself to receive it. And I just bead with it. And so there was lots of different things that came up with that. And of course, one of them was like, well, who is the people in Access? Like, to say Access, people in Access don't like me. My business is based on Access consciousness tools and the people who use them. So if they don't like me, that's interesting that they're, coming to my classes and they're taking calls with me and they're playing with me. And it's like, okay, so, everywhere I've kind of lumped it all together, that means nobody likes me, kind of that energy. So I had a lot of that to clear. And then I looked at like, what really is being said. And so in Access, we call it like the truth with a lie attached. Like what's the truth and what's the lie? Because it was sticking me, so to speak. It was like, I would spin on it and I would go into drama, trauma, and story and just in my head. And so then it's like, okay, so what is the truth and what is the lie? And so, one of them that I acknowledged was the truth is that, yeah, there's people who don't like me, whether they're in Access or they're in church or they're in football. I mean, there's people around the world, surprisingly, that don't like me. And then, so that's true. And what's the lie was the energy that I perceived from it, whatever, was that I should care. Just to even tell me that there's people, I can't remember what her words were, most people in Access don't like you, or something like that, was like, but it was the energy of, and you should care, like, and I'm telling you that so because it should matter. And it's like, but what if it doesn't matter? Like really, and I know this because I talk about it all the time, is that if somebody doesn't like me, it means nothing about me. And, you know, so I had that, you know, and cleared that and kept looking at that. And I mean, there's just so many pieces. And then yesterday, my sweet friend Maureen came to visit, and her and I, you know, we swap as often as we can. And I just said, can you help me with this? Because there was something else there. And as I was talking about it and sharing it with her, what I had the awareness of was, and I mean, I knew this prior to even talking with her, but it became so much more clear, is that this is the one of the biggest, what I call themes in my life. You know, so growing up, I would have that thought all the time, like, nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. Nobody likes me. And in fact, here's a story. When I was in grade 9, we used to do, I don't think they do them anymore because they weren't maybe the best choice, but we used to do initiations. And so I had a gal who was my, I can't remember what it's called, initiate. She was in grade 12, I was in grade 9. And so all week you did silly things in school. And then the Friday night was the party. And so she gifted me a 26 of rye. So I probably had never really drank before, probably somewhat, maybe not, I don't remember, but I drank a lot of that rye, like way too much of that rye, considering I don't know what age you are in grade 9, but I was only in grade 9. And I got so drunk that apparently, of course I have no memory of this, I walked around going and crying that nobody liked me. Like, that's how much of a theme it was, that when I was drunk like that, you know, it came out to everybody around. So I, you know, when I was talking to Maureen about it, I was like, that's been the theme. And I mean, it's been really not really existent in my world in the last few years, especially with the tools of access, but this really kind of like brought it to surface again. And so her and I were talking, and one of the really cool things is a tool that we use, and it's where we encapsulate, and I apologize that this video is going longer, but I wanted to fit this all in, where we encapsulate people. So likely, as a very, I could have maybe not even been born yet, or maybe I was a very young child, and I would have seen people around me with that energy of nobody likes me. And then I go and I energetically, you know, kind of from me, take a line of energy and encapsulate them to show them what else is possible, to show them that we're oneness, that we are, you know, infinite beings with no separation. The problem is the minute we encapsulate somebody is the minute that we can't create beyond that encapsulation. And then we go on thinking that that is ours. So we can encapsulate people's money crazy, we can encapsulate people's body stuff, we can encapsulate people's crazy, like not feeling like anybody like them. I mean, you can encapsulate anything. And so then as soon as I was like, you know, as her and I were talking, and I was like, whoa, let's clear all the places that I've encapsulated this energy, because it is, again, it's been a theme. And often when you have something that I kind of nickname a theme, something that's over and over and over, and you've cleared stuff and you've done stuff and you've done clearings and it's not shifting, check if you've encapsulated. And it's just a simple question, truth, have I encapsulated this? And then if so, just everywhere, you know, all the places I've encapsulated them, destroy and uncreate. And you can do some 1, 2, 3s if you want. But it's just such a freeing thing. And after that, totally done. Totally done. I mean, I can think about it now. I can even do a video, because honestly, if I wouldn't have had that chat with Maureen yesterday and cleared that, I probably wouldn't have done it this week as a video, because I wasn't there yet. And that's what I do, is I don't talk about things to this degree. I mean, I shared it on the radio show, you know, a little bit from that, wherever I was speaking from, but to this degree, I never share until I get there, because there's no point, right? I'm still in the crazy of it. So yeah, so something like that, like it's just, and it's one of the tools that often comes up in my foundation classes. It's not in the manuals. I don't actually even know if it's in the reference materials, although it must be, but I'll have to check. But, you know, it was something that a few years ago I was in a class with Dane, and he cleared some encapsulations for me that I had. And it was just, it was so potent and so fucking amazing. And it just comes up. So another reason to get your butt to foundation is to really know that there's, even the manuals are fucking phenomenal. And there's more. There's so much more. You know, it's not like I can only use from what's in the manual when I facilitate. I get to use all of my, I don't know, 7 or 8 years of classes. And I mean, I've done a lot of classes, and I've done a lot of the ones with really high prereqs, you know, so that I have that information, so that when I come to facilitate a bars and a foundation, and any of my specialty classes, of course, or even do my radio show, that I have the information. So anyway, I just wanted to share that in case that's going to create something for you in your life, and truly what else is possible beyond what we have ever imagined. Have an awesome week, sweet friends, and I look forward to chatting with you next week.